Now your water pump is held on by multiple hoses and fittings like this. It's really anchored on, okay? 3 bolts hold it on to the casing. You got a hose up here. Best bet, you know, you want that hose, the replacement hose, before you do the job. Just take a knife, cut it. This pipe here goes like that and it wraps around back up through the frame. You got a hose here. Easiest thing you can do, just cut it right off with a knife. Okay, if these are dry routed hoses, don't even waste your time. Have the replacement parts before you do the job. This hose here, so it had a fitting similar to this, but it was twisting. It was pointless. I was basically I'll show you right now. So I cut that off over there, and here's the cut. Now this baby, this one turns, this does not turn. This is very corroded in here. I don't want to twist that pipe there and get stranded at this truck stop. So what I did was I snipped it here, wire wheeled it here. Now I can take hose, put it over here, and clamp it down, and then connect it. Basically take down all this, and then connect it back into the hose that clamps right up there. Please like and subscribe, it would really help you out. Let me show you this here. Okay, so you got this fat hose right here that goes to the water pump. Okay, loosen the clamps. If you want, you can reuse these. Okay, you can reuse them, and it makes your installation a lot easier. That's up to you, but loosen the clamps, and then you can push this basically that way, and the water pump is sitting here, and you can get the water pump out after you push that out of the way. This is where it mounts to on the water pump. So I just push the hose out of the way, and then I'm able to pull the pump out this way, and it comes right out. It's a little stubborn to get the gear past the end of the housing, but it's really not that bad. I've done these water pumps several times, and this one is a pain in the butt like the other ones. So you might have trouble getting this baby out right here. I mean, your best bet is to try to take it out while the pump's still attached to the engine to get leverage and turn this. But if you have the Milwaukee impact gun, you get yourself a 1 7/16 inch socket. 33 millimeter will not fit this. It's very close to the lug nut size on the truck. 1 7/16. Put it on here. Impact gun. I used a little heat on the casing right here first because I don't want to crack this baby in half. Popped right off. No problem. Like I said, this one turns, that's seized, so I'm going to leave that attached. I got a socket rolling away. Oh boy. Alrighty. If you're doing the repair yourself, these tips can save you some time. Absolutely. If you'd like to add more, leave it in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe. It would help. Share this video with other truckers doing water pumps. And this video should come up if you searched for it on Google. So make it easier, take this out if you want. But as far as insulation goes, we have our room to get it back in. Here is the old water pump. Okay, this is up. Okay, so when we install the new water pump, all right, you want to clean the casing on the engine, clean it where this sits with degreaser, then put some silicone, the right stuff on the engine housing where this seats. Just put it in there. It's going to help. This is an O-ring. It does its job, but it's going to help if you put the right stuff in there and slip this back in. When you go to put this water pump in, have your new hose here. Okay, it's about that long. You get it from Freightliner. Unfortunately, I think it's like 40 bucks. Clamp the bottom, have your top up here, and have a loose clamp right in the middle. So you got one clamp tight, one clamp in the middle. Okay, then this hose is about that long. So when you are installing this, you want to slip it up into the pipe, slip this over. Put a little WD-40 on the inside of this hose, and it will slip over. It will slip right over this hose right here. So you're putting the pump in, okay, and you're kind of lifting it up. You get the blue hose over, and then into the hole we go. Okay, so pump in, slip it over the hose with the WD-40 so it slips right over. Then we guide the pump in. Now once that pump is in, this right here, this will be no problem. So first, you get it in angled like this way, touching the engine. Put your one end over here, okay? Put the one end over here first. Do not clamp it, just slip it over. Then you got this one right here. This is already slid to the back of the pipe, okay? You can see the lip here. Geez, I'm really sorry about the lighting right now. Camera does not want to put the flash on. So you can see this hose is already slipped over with WD-40 at the lip right here. So I'm gonna line this up to the pump, and then I gotta twist this and twist it back over the pump. And that will probably involve the lubricant, you know, WD-40 preferably. Just a little. Makes it a lot easier. Okay? Rotate the rubber, put a flathead in there if you gotta pry it very gently, and slip it back over. Get it in, and then you slip it back over this, and the pipe lines up very close to here. So you slip the hose over, then you clamp this. All right, I gotta get back to work. It's a very dirty job. It's like 7 p.m. It's getting cold. I'm gonna show this as I go along. And when I said the engine housing where it sits, this is what I'm talking about. So you clean this with paper towel, clean it with degreaser, and then before you install your pump, put the right stuff around here, and it will further seal any potential leaks through the O-ring. All right, here's our water pump pre-installation. I have the fittings on. Okay, I use the right stuff sealant. For the threads, you can use what you want. So this is your view. If you're looking at the water pump outside of the truck, here's the top, here's the fat hose that goes that way. All right, so as you can see, all right, everything's set up. This has to be right here. This has to be facing completely this way, going with the center of the pump. Let me show you. Here's the pump. Here's the engine casing. It mounts here. This is just, as you can see, where it's set up. So it's going to make your life a lot easier when it goes to installation. I'm going to throw a hose over that. This is all tight. And I got 2 clamps on the top. So I'm going to spray a little WD-40 in here. And then, as I said, I'm going to go over to the truck, put it in place, slip the hose over the fitting, and then work the gear through the housing carefully. And I've already siliconed, before I go to put this in, I'll already have silicone on the engine casing, and I will carefully work it in there and be very careful with these teeth. They could break off, so just take your time. Don't muscle it. It should go in. It should not be that difficult. The most difficult part is probably lifting the pump up, slipping it over this hose, and then getting the bottom of the gear over the housing lip. Once you get that gear over the housing, it's not going to drop down. Your hose is going to stay in position, and then you can work it in and get this seated properly and put your 3 bolts in and anchor it back in the truck. All right, our surface is entirely cleaned and wiped down. I just put the silicone on, and one last thing I forgot. While you're at it, this right here is your bull gear. So just take a pry bar and very lightly pry on both sides of the bull gear, very lightly, to see if your bull gear has any free play. Okay, this is a good time to do it. This engine has 800,000 miles on it, and the bull gear is tight. But if you got a Detroit 60 and you don't know if it's a ticking time bomb, because these bull gears go bad sometimes, the bearings go bad and they wiggle. So this is a good time to do it. If you're not doing your water pump, you can also pull the auxiliary gear right here. It's held on by about 5 bolts, and then you can pry on your bull gear from this side in the front. Or if you're thinking about buying a Freightliner and you want to know about the bull gear, and the guy I mean, if the guy lets you pull this off, I don't know if he's going to, but you can find out a lot quickly from prying lightly on the bolt gear. Okay, the water pump is installed and bolted in with thread lock, red thread lock. These bolts were not that tight when I took this pump off. In fact, that one in the back was hand loose. So got the red thread lock on there, got my clamp on the top. And another thing is, before I tightened this pump down, I had some wiggle room, so it was easier to get these threads over this piece here with the wiggle room of the pump. So keep that in mind, because sometimes when you bolt these up and you go to put this on, you can't get the threads lined up, and it's a pain in the butt. So it was a lot easier that way. That there is the bottom hose. I put a rubber glove over it. Had a close call. I dropped a 15mm socket and I could not find it, and I was thinking it went down into that coolant pipe, and I was just like pretty horrified for a moment. Even stuck a magnetic stick in there, but it turns out it landed in the frame. Alright, so like I said, when I go to install this pipe, I have WD-40 under here, and it's pressed. This is pressed all the way this way. You can see the lip of the metal pipe right there. So what I'll do is I'll put the pipe in this way, have it hit the engine, and put this end on after I clean both surfaces. Put this end on, and then I'll work this way over to here, and once I get it lined up, I have to nudge this over that, and then I can put the clamps back on. Notice when you tighten this bar is going to want to eventually crank down as you tighten the nut here, so it's probably easier if you pull the bar up completely so it's hitting this. You pull the bar completely this way and then hold it up with a pry bar here and crank that tight, and then crank it just a little more. I was actually using a 1-foot wrench, a adjustable, and I hit it with a hammer a couple times to crank it down, and it's all very tight, and this is in a good position right here where it's not bumping anything. Okay, one part when it came to installing the water pump, easier said than done with lifting it up and getting that fitting over. This thing is pretty heavy, so I was able to take the pry bar on the water pump away from the O-ring, and I was able to pry up. So the pry bar was in between this and the gear, and it wasn't going anywhere. I was basically like that, and I was able to pry up and jump the gear over the housing right here and push it in. But before I jumped the gear over the housing right there, I had to slip the water pump into this hose right here at the top. Like I said, the hose was attached here, and I had to slip this right over here. So this was kind of hard. I had to cup this with my hands and really make sure it wasn't binding up in the back as I was trying to lift the water pump. So it was very difficult, but the pry bar made it a lot easier. This was resting on here on the dipstick, and I was able to pry up, get this in position, and then I was able to pry up and further lift the gear up into the housing and move it over and torque it down. Cut the end off the water pump. I got this hose here, Gates Blue Strip, 2 clamps, very tight. Everything here is secured. That is held on by the spring clamps. Water pump is all bolted in, and so I got this hose here, and it's fastened, secured. Come up through here, did all the hoses up to the heater core. All the hoses going to the heater core right there. New fittings. This truck did not have a temperature adjustment, so I was using a clamp on the line for a bit. It didn't come with this, but I installed the temperature adjustment here. Get in here. It's when you turn the knob, this wire pulls this valve back and forth, and it opens and closes the flow right here for the coolant. Okay, I ran out of line, so this is like a line that's a valve that's closed off. I gotta replace this line eventually, but I'm out of line. And underneath here I have a new hose below the water pump. So it's late, but I might do this right now And then probably some other day I'll do this one, and I have a brand new reservoir. So what I'll do is I'll crack the drain thing loose, take maybe 3 gallons out, 4 gallons, and then finish up these another day. It sounds pretty good. I'm really glad I did this. This was very stressful. This water pump kept leaking and leaking, and the more I thought about it, the more I was stressed out. But I didn't want to do it. And finally, I got around to doing it. So freight's not paying that well. This didn't take me too long, and I saved myself a bunch of money. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe. I got more videos coming your way. This is Eric Wrench Motors, Slim Diesel. Oh yeah, I want to mention one more thing. You don't have to bleed the coolant system. So there's going to be air in the system, and your heater might not work after you fill the coolant up and idle your engine. But as soon as you hit the highway and your thermostat hits the opening temperature, on this truck it's 180, so as soon as it hit 180, the thermostat opened up, and that allowed maximum circulation in the system. And now the heater works fine at idle. So it didn't work fine at idle until the thermostat opened up.